Hey there everyone, Hitesh here, back again with another video, and welcome to the crash course on Deno. Deno. Hey, what do we call it? Deno or Deno? Hey, I'm asking. He doesn't reply. In this very simple to understand crash course of Deno, we're going to talk about 7 points on the Deno which you should know if you're getting enthusiastic or interested in Deno. After talking about these 7 points, we're going to move on to the computer and we're going to talk about two simple applications that we're going to build in Deno. One is going to be very simple server which responds on a request, and the second one is going to be full-fledged REST API. Not completely full-fledged, but yeah, they are completely working and they're going to give you a whole lot of idea that how you can build up a REST API in Deno. It's going to be very small in application, but it has the potential of growing as much as you like and will give you enough of the idea how things are actually going to be working in Deno. So let's get started. Now, before we move ahead into the crash course of Deno, I would like you to suggest me something here. Write down in the comment section that what you would put up as a title for this video. Absolutely clickbaity title. Something like Node.js is dead, or Deno is here, Node.js is out. Something like that. Suggest me in the comment section what would you put as an absolute clickbaity title for this video. First and foremost, what is Deno? I'm pretty sure Deno is a sock. I don't know if it is a left-hand sock or a right-hand sock, something like that, but it's definitely a sock. Jokes aside, Deno is like a new implementation of Node. It happens all the time. I have seen that in past happening with Python as well. And whatever the library or module you write, eventually your code gets mature and new possibilities are there. So you want to just scrape the things off and want to rewrite the things and getting rid of all the mistakes that you're having. And this is happening with the Deno. I'm super happy that Deno is here because when Node came out, we just was having PHP and some basic stuff like that. So there was nothing like Node.js. And now Node.js is here, it's dominating the market. So having an alternative to Node and future potential of it in the form of Deno is something that I totally appreciate. Calling Deno as a replacement of Node.js is not something right. Calling it as an alternative of Node.js, which has a lot of future potential, would be absolutely correct here. Now, under the hood, there are a lot of things which have changed in the Node.js. First and foremost, the creator is same, and he says in his absolute amazing talk, which you can see on the internet, that there are few things which I regret about Node, and if I would have to rewrite the Node in current scenario, in current situation, this is how I would like to implement that. First and foremost, the C++ is no more behind the scenes, it's now all in the Rust. I am personally a bit fan of C++, but again, this doesn't mean that Rust doesn't have potential. It has a lot of potential there as well. I'm kind of a bit leaning towards the C++. Again, this has nothing to do how much well this Deno is going to perform or not. This is my personal preference, nothing to do with the Deno. Oh yes, by the way, on a side note, if you haven't worked on C++ yet, check out my C++ bootcamp course. It's just $2 or 2.5 something, $2.3 or something. Very in-depth, you're going to absolutely enjoy that. So check out that in the link in the description. $2.5 means just 199 rupees in India, so check that out. Now, there are a lot of things which are being highlighted in the Deno. We have already talked about what it is and the C++ and the Rust change. The point number 3 that I want to mention here is the security flags. They mention it quite highlightly on their website as well. And when you're going to work on the actual project, you're going to realize that there are a lot of security flags and a whole lot of community is appreciating it. Deno does something behind the scene which doesn't allow any code or any application directly run into that. They kind of create a sandbox for it, and you explicitly have to pass on certain flags, whether you want your application to have connectivity with internet, want to create some file, read some file, and some permissions like that. In the modern world, where security is so much of the concern, I really appreciate that Deno was created by keeping security in the mind from the very first day. I really appreciate this one. Another thing which I personally appreciate about the Deno is cooked up things. Now, in the environment of the Node, we have to do a lot of things which are very basic, like generating UUIDs or talking to the file types which are like CSVs or binary files. For these all of the things, we have to import some of the third-party library. Although it's really simple, I just have to run npm install this and it just works fine. But Deno, they openly state this, that there are a lot of things which are going to be cooked up or built in the Deno, so that you don't have to depend so much on these third-party libraries. We'll be doing majority of the work on our own, and then if you need some specific things, then only you import something from the third-party library or module. I really appreciate this, although the application is really hard to build without having these third-party modules, but the less the dependency is, it's really good. And especially for such small things like generating UUIDs and talking to CSV files, I think every framework and module should now just cook it up and just bake it up right into the application. And Deno is doing exactly like that, which I absolutely love that. Moving on to the next point, which a lot of you are gonna love that, Deno gives you a direct support of TypeScript. No, this doesn't mean you have to learn a completely new language. If you're already familiar with JavaScript, moving into the TypeScript is absolutely breeze. Probably in the future, I'll put up some of the resource so that you can move from JavaScript into the TypeScript world. In the TypeScript, I personally like it when a language explicitly asks you that what data type is going to be, and more such features are offered. So I think all the TypeScript fans are going to absolutely love this one. Next thing that you're going to see about the Deno is NPM is no longer there. So all the things which we used to have, like there used to be a node module folder, not used to be, it is still there in all the node-based application. We have a folder node modules, which is gigantic. No, we don't pass on this folder when we pass on our file. It is easily generated by the package.json file, but still, having such a big file, sometimes it feels like very bloated. It feels like it's too big of an application size. Now, Deno doesn't work like that. They don't ship in NPM modules just like that. Again, this is a point of great debate where some people absolutely love this concept of having node modules and having the repository just like there with the version information, absolutely love that. But Deno is moving away from the approach of NPM, and they are not getting dependent on NPM for these modules and stuff. Instead, you can directly link to the file of the resource and can have it. Now, I'll explain more that while we'll be writing the code, but just to give you enough of the update that yes, NPM is no longer in the Deno and it's gone. So like it or not, it just is gone. Now, last but not the least point, is Deno a replacement of Node.js? Absolutely not, 100% not. The reason for that is Node came out really early in the time, especially after when we were struggling with some of the things in the PHP and stuff like that. Node came out. People were just not adopting the Node on the day one, but it has stayed enough in the market that it is now in production. And when things are production, as a YouTuber, I love to put out new content. As a learner, you love to learn the new content. But once the things are in production, that's a different level. I would never like to touch my application and rebuild from the scratch just because a new tech is out. This is not something that happens in the production level grade. So coming on to the point, is Deno going to be replacement of Node? Not anytime soon. I don't think it's going to be there anytime soon. Probably not till the 2021. Does it mean that it's not going to be there? No, this doesn't mean like that. Deno has a lot of potential, and in the future you're going to see a ton of tutorials on Deno. You're going to see a ton of courses on Deno, and these courses will build enough of the friction in the community. This will give a lot of coders who are actually coding in Deno, a lot of tutorials, a lot of courses. That means a lot of potential for the Deno. After that, a lot of hobbyist projects are going to be created in Deno, and eventually these hobbyist projects are going to be getting up into the startup or big scale project. So that's how I think Deno is going to get evolved. So calling that just the Deno is out, it's going to replace everything in the Node, it's not really a mature thing to do. It's not something that's going to happen. But eventually in the future, I think this is a well-cooked application. I think this is going to get a lot of love in the community, and it's going to rise up very, very quickly. So this tutorial is going to serve you a getting started point on Deno, and that's all I want to say in the theory part of Deno. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to the code part of the Deno. So for that, I have to take you on my computer. Let's go there and talk more about it. So I have been playing around with Deno for 4 or 5 days now. I have tried different libraries, different ways how can create REST API. And one thing I can openly mention here is I initially thought there's going to be a lot of friction from moving Node to Deno, but it's not really. There is not much of the friction. And I think eventually people who are having good knowledge of Node will be able to move into Deno pretty easily. There is nothing much to deal about it. And it's actually pretty fun to work on with. Now let me show you that how Deno actually looks like and how you can install and stuff like that. So here we are on the web page of Deno. First and foremost, I appreciate this simplicity here. On the homepage of Deno, if you scroll a little bit, they openly mention the third-party modules and stuff like that. We'll talk about that in a second. First and foremost, installation. So Deno installation is pretty easy, especially for the Mac and for Linux guys. I can simply say brew install, and for Linux shell guys, you can just make a curl request on the shell and that's it. It's pretty much done. But Windows guys, don't you worry too much. The installation is not really difficult for you as well. And we can see up here that we can have all these installation via package manager, which I think is the simplest way. So again, for homebrew, just like on Mac, you can do brew install Deno. If you're on the Windows, I expect that you already have installed Chocolatey on your Windows because without Chocolatey, it's a little bit difficult to pull up all the files, set up all the paths and stuff like that. This Chocolatey is like a package manager for Windows. Just run a command and that's it. It's going to be all done. Make sure you run the command as an administrator. Windows got a bit of issues with installation and on the server side stuff, but not much. So go ahead and install Chocolatey for Windows and look for the Choco install at Deno. So there we go. And definitely you can click on this and can see what Chocolatey is in case you're seeing it for the very first time and stuff like that. So stuff like that. So you can go up here, not on the package, on the page, the package manager for Windows, and you can read more about it up here. It's very, very popular. Okay. Now moving on to the part which is going to impress you a lot with the Deno is the manual. It's heavily inspired, you can see from the node, and I don't think you're going to be having any problem and issues. There's a lot of code being thrown up almost on every page so that you can understand more of the stuff, that how things are happening. Only thing that's missing up here is the diagrams. If it would be cool visual graphics, I would love that and probably would like to see that in future. Moving on. There are standard libraries. This is where they like to put up that, hey, we want to do all the stuff like cooked up. And there's a lot here, like in the HTTP. If you look up, there is directly a serve. And you can see a whole lot of things are going on. Even if I check up one method, which we are about to use in a few minutes, there is a method which says this export function serve. You can close that now. And it takes care of a whole lot of things for me directly right out of the box. So we'll be using that and it's going to automatically listen. We'll be designing that in a minute. But anyways, what I want to say is there's a whole lot of things which are given to you directly in the standard library and which I absolutely appreciate. There's even a UUID if you want to read that, and there's a whole lot of implementations and versions. Again, I really, really like this one here. Now moving on to the third-party libraries or third-party modules, it's good that Deno has a lot of things cooked up, but without the third-party help, I don't see any chance in the Deno that it's going to evolve. Already a whole lot of things are here, and I'm seeing a whole lot of things in the future as well. Couple of things which are going to get popular over the time, which I predict. First one is ABC, which is a Deno framework to create web application. Pretty nicely written, very nice examples and stuff. I don't know how deep this is. I didn't look much into this. One which got my eye is actually this Pogo. The reason why I got my eye here because it is inspired by HAPI or HAPI, however you like to call that. It's a very serious business there. And you can see there is a lot of very familiar syntax here. Server.router.get, request is going to be sent on the home route, returns hello world. Very, very familiar syntax. So this I think is going to get very, very popular. Another one which is already gaining a lot of traction is Oak, middleware framework for Deno's HTTP, including router middleware. That's where it's become interesting because router is there, and that's what I like it. We're going to be using, again, I will be using Oak, but once you understand the Oak, moving into the Pogo or something is going to be very, very easy for you. We'll be building up this entire thing on our own way, and we'll be throwing up APIs and stuff. But again, as you can see, pretty in depth. Okay, moving on to the code part now. I'm into the folder DenoTube, which is a fairly decent name in case you want to go ahead and start a channel just for the Deno. DenoTube could be nice, or even the Deno official guys. Feel free to use this name DenoTube for your YouTube channel in case you're looking forward. Okay, moving forward, once you install the Deno, you can actually run the Deno directly and hit enter. You're going to see a prompt, or also known as REPL. Let me know in the comment section what's the full form of this REPL. and you can do stuff. You might be familiar with that from the world of Python. Again, nobody's going to do 2 plus 2 here. This is just for testing a small concept that you are having and want to use the default standard module library of the Deno. Okay, and we can actually close this. Just wanted to mention that this is here. Okay, one thing that you should be looking up here is Deno help. And you can see there's a whole lot of things given to us in the Deno help. There are a lot of options to run this, but the most important, it gives you a whole lot of set of subset commands. And here are all the commands that you should take a moment to read them. Interestingly, we do have run, actually nothing interesting about that, but we do have fmt as well to format the source file. And it's pretty easy to run all of them. You can just simply say Deno, fmt, and then simply the file name, whatever you are having. So running the subcommands are pretty easy and stuff like that. I won't be changing any environment variable because it's not necessary, at least for my system. Let me know how your system is performing for that, but I think it's not necessary for any system at all. It's well written. Moving forward, now let me open up my VS Code and let's actually write some code up here. There we go, VS Code, Deno tube, I got a folder, and there we go, nice and easy. Now let's go ahead and write some of the code, then we're going to discuss about its syntax, some of the basic stuff. New file, I'm going to call this one as LCO server. Did I wrote it correct? I hope so. Not js.ts because the TypeScript support is right inbuilt, so we're going to say LCO server.ts. Moving back onto the Deno standard library, look for something in here which says HTTP. And we want to look on this server.ts. So previously in the node world, we say npm install http, and then we can import that because a local folder is created. Here, I can just go ahead and copy this here, which is a reference to this file, and I can write this import syntax directly. So I can say import and serve. Remember the method that we talked just a moment ago? And I can simply say it just like this. A lot of people are going to debate over this. Obviously, it's a good debate. That previously this thing was really short. Now it's gigantic, and this is the first version of HTTP. Eventually there are going to be multiple branches, multiple versions. So we're going to see a whole lot of lengthy links and URLs up here. Definitely if we can put them into a separate file and import them up here, it's going to serve a little bit better, but I'm not sure. So a lot of debate is about to come up here. Notice here the .ts. It is required in here, but I think eventually they're going to drop it over the time. I don't know. Anything is possible. Now let's use this one. So we're going to simply say any variable name, and we are going to simply say that, hey, I want to use this serve method. And that's how you create an object of this serve. It expects you to pass off a couple of objects. The first one is actually port. So port is going to be 4300 or whatever port you like. I don't need to pass on localhost, but it also expects that, hey, we are going to be doing something like this host colon and then 127. You got the point. So, but it's not really compulsory, so we won't be doing it. Okay, once this variable is ready, now you can loop through this variable and can see how many requests are coming. Now this is a bit new compared to Node, so we have to loop. And notice here, I'll write the syntax first. So we're going to say await, there we go, and we're going to say const request of s, that's we are looping through, and we can simply say request.respond. There we go. I will be responding through an object which is going to respond in the body directly saying, hey LCO. Should be reverse. Hey LCO, like that. Save that, and it's a bit different syntax. I give you on that. Previously, we were not doing any looping kind of stuff where server is running or port is being served, but now this is what we have got. We are saying, and again, notice here await. We're using an await, but Deno actually implements the await at the very top level, so we don't see at some places this await and async combination. This can be really out of sync for some of you, but again, this is what we have. Now let's go ahead and run this. How do we run that? Now running is a little bit tricky. You're going to see a lot of people talking about it as well. So the main way of running a file is simply saying Deno run and LCO server.ts. But once you run this one, it says permission denied. And that's where again, the point comes in, which is the cooked in security features in Deno. First and foremost, notice it tried to download all of the files up here, but we don't see anything up here. So that's a good thing. I love that. But we don't have much of the permissions right out of the box. And this is where flags actually come in. You have to pass on a whole lot of flags so that Deno actually can work on. And we're going to see a lot of them over the time. So we are first and foremost dash dash allow is the common word, then dash net so that it can access the net. There's going to be a lot of these allows. You're going to see them. So allow dash for read, for write, for environment, and a whole bunch of other things. So env, stuff like that. And come on, I missed an L. There we go. There we go. Double L. There we go. And now we can see that it's running. It doesn't give any output because we didn't ask it to give any output. But now if I go onto this 4300 port, which is up here, 4300, we see the hey LCO. Nothing very exciting, but at least it works. At least it works. So this is the basic stuff of how things are going to be done in the basic of like that. Okay, now we are going to be moving forward. There we go. So this is all done. I'm going to close this one here because the basics are all done. Now we can move ahead and start creating an API. And I'll be keeping everything in one file, but still in the comment section, I'll mention that these things actually go in the separate file. For teaching purposes, keeping everything in same file helps me a lot in explaining this stuff. Let's click on the new one, and we're going to call this one as LCO API.ts, of course. There we go. Okay, moving forward, what we need to do is we need to bring up something from the node. So we're going to go up here, not here, third-party modules. We're going to go for Oak. There we go. And in Oak, you can see a whole lot of files are here. The one that you need to use in the Oak actually is mentioned up here, which is mode.ts. So what you can do, you can actually bring up this very first line, which is going to be the import statement. We need to bring application from Oak, from this URL, and that's it. Rest all, we're going to code for ourselves, but this is what we need from here. So bring it up here. There we go. Okay, so the application is up here. I can close you out as well. Now let's go ahead and first do that. So how do we create a REST API? First, we create a template according to which all of the data files are going to work. Then we create something in which we have a data. In this case, we are going to use array, but it's usually something like database and stuff. We won't be connecting database in this small application. Then we create some of the routers so that you can visit multiple URLs, and on each of the URL, you'll be served with a response, either a GET request, POST request, however things are going to be there. Pretty simple. You got the plan. Let's go ahead and work on it. So usually this thing is written in a separate file. We call this as module. Not module, the model. So this is the basically model of the file. In the TypeScript, we actually use the interface for doing that, and in Swift as well, bunch of other languages as well. I will create a module or model for the course. Why am I saying module again and again? I have no idea. So how do you want your course to look like? Design all the properties, but don't mention the value of them. Course is going to have a name. Since we are in the TypeScript, we are going to be passing on string. And it's going to have a price. So obviously price is going to be in number. And then we are going to have a certification. So that's going to be a simple Boolean value. Free course don't have certificate, and paid course have certificates. Again, how many information you want to put it, totally up to you. And this all thing goes in the file model. File model ends here. Okay. Now the next file is actually usually a database connection or helper, but in this case, I'll be just having a file data. So let's call this one as file, and this one is going to be data. Forgot a slash. There we go. This again usually goes in the separate file. Using this interface, now we create some of the data. So we're going to simply say let courses is going to be equal to, again, TypeScript. Forgot that. We will be calling it as an array, not array of any integers or anything, but a data type of course. There we go. Super simple, easy to understand. Now, in this array, we will have array of objects. So object 1, object 2, object 3. Simple stuff. Nothing of groundbreaking. And here we are going to be passing on information like name is going to be, I do have a recent C++ bootcamp, Campo. That's actually a nice name too. Bootcamp. Then we have what we have price. That's going to be my C++ course is actually, I think, $2.4. And oops, forgot a comma. And we have certification. and that's going to be true. There we go. And what we are missing up here. Okay, let me first remove these guys so that we get all of this. Save that. Why are you having a problem? Is a string. Oh, it's a string. It should be number. My bad. There we go. Now it should be happy. There we go. Okay, so we got the first object and we'll be copying and pasting it. Paste that. Paste that. We'll have just 3 or 4 maybe. Just one more. So we have C++ Bootcamp. Then we are going to have a MERN Bootcamp, which I think is $2 only. Certification is true. Then we got a React Bootcamp, which I think is also $2.4. And recently I rolled out an iOS 13. It's not a bootcamp actually, it's a crash course. And we can remove this. And the price is, for this one, it's actually 0. Certification is false. So there we go. However you want to craft your data, data is all done. Note, this is my first file. This is all done. My data file is also all done. So this is my data on which I'll loop through. Assume, just give an assumption here, that this entire data is coming up from some of the database. In no format, I really don't know what format or what database you're using, but the whole idea is that this is all done. Now coming up onto the main part where we use this application actually. What we need to use along with the application is a router as well, because we'll be serving on multiple routes, slash create, slash learn, whatever the route you're going to be using. So import the router as well. Once you have imported the router, then this comes up is the main part. First, let's create an object from router. So we're going to say const router is going to be created from router. There we go. Object is all ready to serve you. Now, since this is a TypeScript, this is not how we exactly do this. We actually use the keyword new as well. Again, I'm trying to relate as closely as possible with the JavaScript so that you face no problems. Okay. Now we create controllers here as well. Actually, router can be created later on as well, but it's actually going to be needed very soon. So then this goes into a separate file, which is controllers. And you might be asking, what is this? Whenever any route is going to be hit, there's going to be some mechanism or some logic that will kick in that is going to actually serve the data. Usually this is also in separate file, but still I want to keep it. Basically, we write some of the methods. That's basically what we do. So we're going to simply say export const get courses. You don't need to write export here in this place because we are just in the same file. But if you would be moving into separate file, then this is going to help you a lot. So again, it's not really needed here, but it's not going to harm you anything. And then the weird syntax actually kicks in, and there we go. Okay, coming up onto the weird syntax. Again, we'll be using these guys. Coming up onto the weird syntax. So how this one actually works, we first go with these guys, then colon and these guys. I know, very weird. I didn't even actually got a hand of it, even after till now. We actually go ahead and say, I'll be throwing up a response for a response colon any. Again, this is something which is there in the documentation a whole lot of time. Where I saw this, actually I need to look again, not very important, but I absolutely think this is the most weird part of this entire Deno thing. I think this eventually can be better, but or maybe I'll get a hand of it again. Now what we can do is with this response, you can throw up a body of response body. So whenever this method get courses is going to be called, we will be throwing up the entirety of the courses array that we have got. Notice this is the array that we are throwing up whenever anybody uses the method of get courses. Right now nobody is using it. Okay, similar to this, we need to get another of the method. This method is going to be kind of a getter or get request, and this method is going to be for adding the courses. So I'm going to call this one as add courses. Again, this is going to be a bit of weird syntax. Now since we are adding the things, assume that we are adding the things in the database, so there's going to be small delay chances of that. So we'll be using an async here, and after that comes up is a weird syntax. Let me show you that. There we go, just like that. So this time, instead of just having a response, we have request to request response. Okay, and now we don't have just the response, we also have to accept the request. Remember, in the get course, we don't need to worry about what user is sending, so we just display them. In the add courses, we need to worry about what user is sending me, so we have to expect a request as well. So here I'm going to say that a request is going to be coming up. I don't know the data type of the request, so I'll be just saying any, just like that. And again, I think I can move it on to the next line. Not like that. I'll be moving it just like that so that it's much more readable. Save that. There we go. Nice and easy. Okay, so we have a request, we have a response, and these are the request response that are coming up. Again, this is what we are handling. This is what that is going to be coming up from the user. Very weird. I give you on that 100%. Okay. Now, since this is a method in which we are taking about or worrying about what user is going to be sending to us, and we need to worry about that. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and say that, hey body, we are going to be awaiting for a request from the body. We can actually take an input of the JSON based request to that, but I'm not going to make it complex. We're going to say course is going to be course is equals to body dot value. So basically what I'm doing in this line is that whatever, first and foremost, I'm waiting for the body to send me a request. In the body, whatever the values are being sent to me, I'm expecting to craft that according to the model of course, which I've already defined from the interface of this course. So basically I'm converting the data into the model that I'm having. Okay, I hope that's clear. Once, again, I'm not doing any check here. I'm assuming whatever the data user sends is actually clean. Very bad assumption, but I'm doing that. Then I'm going to simply say, hey, I have an array courses, which can use this method push. And I'm going to be, without sanitizing or checking, I'm going to be directly putting up this course into that. So basically, whatever comes up from the body.value, I'm directly pushing it up into my array. Okay. Once that thing is being pushed up, I need to send user some of the message. So I can simply use this response this time. Response dot body. And that is going to be an object. I'm going to be saying course added, something like that, is going to be success. And of course, it is also important that you send. Why is it giving me an error? I'll worry about that in a second. But what's also important is you send a response status as well. Response dot status, and that's going to be 200. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and see why this response is giving me error, because that's a capital R. Again, response, copy that, paste that. Did I call it response all over the place? Yes. So response, there we go, copy that. It should be response, bad typo. There we go, save that. So there we go. Now the two controllers are ready, and we have designed that in such a way that they can be directly exported to this one. Again, I won't be creating too many of the controllers here. Otherwise we can create a get, put, delete, add, all of the CRUD information. Right now, this is just getting the information and adding the information. So, okay. Now here at this point, the file controller is all ready and all done. Now coming up onto the part, we can actually go ahead and create file, which is actually a server file. Also in the server file, one thing that we wrote up here is also going to be a part of this one. So we can move it here, everything at its own place. Just to give you a quick summary, we imported all of these things. So far we have just used the router, not actually. This usually goes in its separate file for creating the models. This file data usually is done through the helper methods from the database, but we are doing or just kind of mimicking it. Then we comes up the file controller, actual controllers, which also reside in its own separate file, and we do that. So this is on its own separate file. And then comes up the final server information. So it's a pretty complex application. Now, what you're going to see is people calling these things like const port, and that port is going to be something like 4300. Again, if you want to put this into variable, put it. Otherwise, just like we did up here, we can do this one as well. Again, depends on totally on you, however you like. I'll be just doing it like that. So just for one. Now, notice here that we haven't actually used the app yet. We need to use the app as well. By the app, I mean application. So how we're going to use this application, that is also important. We have to create an app from this, or a variable from this application. And for that, I'll go up here just below the router, and I'm going to say, hey, I'll create an app, which is going to be new application, just like that. Now, router is ready, app is ready, port number is ready. Okay, quite a lot of things are ready. Now, all you have to do is first and foremost, write kind of middleware. So we're going to say app.use, and we are going to simply say router.routes. How did I know this, that I should write that? It's in the documentation. I didn't come up with the magic method. Another one that is, and I can show you that even. And again, I will get lost 100%. I'll get lost in this one because it's a pretty, there we go, router documentation. And there we go. This is the one that we need to use. Again, this is from the documentation. I'm not coming up from this magically, but again, so these are the two methods that are absolutely needed if you're using the router: allowed methods and routes. Once you are having these allowed methods, then we have to write these methods as well. So we're going to go up at the top of it, and we're going to say, what are these allowed methods? That method comes up router, and we are going to say dot. Once is a get request. Another one is actually a post request. In the get request, we are saying that listen to /learn. And in the post request, listen to /create. The slash is important. Don't forget that. And once somebody hits that route or that link, what should I do? What should I do is answered here. Run this one. So run this method. Again, pretty easy. What happens when I do this one, add course? So just run this method. There we go. And once you have these guys, the router has defined two of the methods, then these middlewares actually are needed. That means use the routers and used all the allowed methods. I didn't find much of the information on these methods to look into it. I'll probably do that in future, but again, this is what we have got. Okay, so I fixed up a whole lot of response stuff. So just realize that a lot of places, instead of the response, I have written response, missed the S. So I fixed it up at all of the places. I hope you have already figured it out while watching this video. So go ahead and do that. Now after that, all we have to do is simply say first and foremost await, then say app.listen. And again, actually we can go up here and can use this one here directly, the bottom line from the docs. So this is where exactly this is coming up from. Nothing coming up right out of my head magically. So there we go. And I think I'm not going to be running it on 8000. I'm going to be running it on 4300. Why we have even declared this port? Anyways, save that. And now let's go ahead and try that. And make sure you provide this allow net and allow environment as well. Now let's go ahead and see how things are looking up at this 4000. Should be nothing at this place because we got nothing. And if I go ahead and visit learn, there we go. We are able to see that. In fact, what we can see is if I go ahead and launch Postman. Now let me quickly fire up the Postman so that we can do some of the checkings. Nothing much of is needed, but let's go ahead and do that. In case you don't have Postman yet, why are you not having Postman yet? You are seeing so many of the web dev videos and still don't have Postman in your system. Please go ahead and have Postman. Let's go ahead and do that. And let me show you that we have got this localhost /:4300/learn, a get request, send that. And there we go. Nice and easy. Get request is coming up. Things are not going to be really good when we send out a post request because we are not doing any validation. So the array is going to be whole messed up. Although if I just say create into the body, if I just send up any form data, just a name and call it as Deno crash course, it's going to mess up my array, to be honest. I send it up, I get a request back. That means whatever I'm sending is getting added up in the data. So this is kind of a validation check that this is up here. But again, this has messed up my array quite a lot. And I'm not worried about it just for this sake. And notice here, the initial things, not the post request. Come on, get request. Send that. And this is all good. But as I expected, this has messed up my array a lot. This is not really something I was expecting.
a whole lot of things are actually getting up and keep on going there. Again, not worried about that much part. But again, this is whole lot of simple and easy scenario, definitely a little bit too much in depth. But I hope this gives you enough of idea of how Deno.js is looking like and whether you like it or not. It's totally up to you.
So that's it for this small crash course on Deno. And it takes really a great amount of effort in creating these videos. So please make sure to leave it a thumbs up and share it among your friends in the WhatsApp group or in any group that you are having. So please share that. It really means a lot to me. Just your one share is gonna put up a big smile on my face. So please do that, hit that subscribe button, and I'm gonna catch you up in the next video. A whole lot of tutorials are coming up, a lot of crash courses, a lot of talks about the tech. So hit that subscribe button and follow me up on Instagram, and we're gonna catch up in the next one. No, seriously, I'm really interested in knowing more about the logo of Deno. Is it a left sock, right sock, sock for socket, pun intended? What it is actually? I would love to know that.